Okay, let's just get this out of the way so that I can not have to respond to this question over and over again. When are we going to see alt season? Okay, I don't want to answer this question directly, but I do want to just provide some data points. And the reason why I don't want to answer this question directly is because we have been enticed by the prospect of alt season nonstop for the last, 2-3 years. And so I don't want to give any false hopes out there that, okay, now is the time for alt season. But there's a couple things I want to point out. Bitcoin dominance, I feel like I'm going to get struck by lightning right now. It actually does appear to be weakening. It has put in a bearish divergence, and there's potential right at this moment. Now, there's that. The other thing I'll say is, if you just look at historically quantitative tightening versus quantitative easing, during periods of quantitative tightening, which we are still in by the definition, we tend to see Bitcoin dominance rise. Now, we might be right at the end of this phase of quantitative tightening. The Fed might be ending with their balance sheet unwinds very soon. And so on the other side of that, here's what happens in those in-between times where there's no easing or tightening by the book, by the rule of law, is that Bitcoin dominance tends to stagnate and even go down a little bit. So do we, with that information, expect Bitcoin dominance to absolutely plummet? I can't really say with any certainty that that's going to happen. But what we can hope for is, if you are bullish on Bitcoin, you could be equally or maybe even more so bullish on altcoins, that the ending of quantitative tightening would usher in a new period where, let's say Bitcoin went up to $150,000 or $200,000, that it would no longer be leaving altcoins in the dust. So that's point number two. Point number three is, if you look at historically, and I'm referring to the blockchain backer, follow him on YouTube, watch his videos. If you look at historically what happens at this point with different fractals overlaid, the charts would seem to suggest that there is probably going to be a significant move in altcoins coming up here. And so despite the fact that, we're still in despite all those things, quantitative tightening, despite everything I said, if you look at the fractals, what you'll see is historically we are at a very similar point to where we were right before